With the release of the Indigo Disc and the announcement for the epilogue for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, we are nearing the end of content updates for the Gen 9 series of games. But that doesn't mean that we will be without Pokemon in 2024, as many believe we will see some sort of remake, whether Unova or Johto hit Nintendo Switch or Nintendo Switch 2 should that console be announced and released next year. But the question has become, which is it? Is it Johto? Is it Unova? Many people thinking that it's the latter, Unova. But I'm here to tell you 5 reasons why I think we will actually see both Johto and Unova in 2024 for Pokemon. So what's up, Waluigi? Trent from Trentendo here. So today we're going to go over the top 5 reasons from the DLC and from leaks and rumors as to why I think we will see not one but 2 Pokemon games next year, one for Johto and one for Unova. So before we hop into that, make sure you hit that subscribe button and like this video so you guys are kept up to date with everything going on here at Trentendo. Let's see if we can't 20 likes on this. It really does help. I appreciate it. Without further ado, let's hop right in. The first thing we have to look at is the last time we visited each of these regions respectively. Now, the last time we went to Johto was with Heart Gold and Soul Silver, and that was actually released in September of 2009. So quite a while ago. And one of the main reasons people continue to say we'll see Unova is that it's been so long. The last time, we're going to just stick with Black and White. We won't go to Black and White 2. But if we look at when Black and White released, it actually came out in March 2011 here in North America, or September 2010 in Japan. So you're looking at about a year between each Heart Gold and Soul Silver and Black and White, with Heart Gold, Soul Silver being the elder of those two. Now, a lot of people say that, Unova should be next in line as for the next remake. It's been a long time. But if you look at it, technically, we have been away from Johto longer than we have been from Unova. And that's if we look at Black and White. If we conclude Black and White 2, I don't remember when that came out on the top of my head. Probably a little bit later, at least, maybe a year, maybe 2. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong. But that even dates Johto even further back from Unova at this point. But, looking at it, though, those are the 2 next games that are regions that we haven't been to in some time, with Johto first and then Unova. So that's kind of the first thing. If you're looking at just the series, the sequence of time, when the last couple of games we've gotten, we need a Johto game and we need a Unova game. But if you want to get technical, it has been longer since we have been to Johto. The next thing we're going to look at, though, is the DLC has a couple of really big hints as well. So if we look at the second thing on the top of my list is both with the Indigo Disc and with the Teal Mask. Each of these have us visiting some different areas that are not in Paldea. First up, we had Kitakami, which is, if you look at a map of Pokemon, it is technically not that far from Johto. It is very, very close to the Johto region. And there was a lot of Johtonian Pokemon that made a return in that portion of the DLC. Now, in the Blueberry Academy, it's very explicit that it is in the Unova region. That is no secret. We are in Unova, and even in the terrarium, there's a nice little call to that where you have Chargestone Cavern. It's not the Chargestone Cavern, but it's basically a replica within, the terrarium. So both of these locations seem to be hinting at, Johto first and then Unova. So that's an interesting kind of thing in my mind as well. The next up, not only do we have that in the DLC, we have the Paradox Pokemon that they chose. Now, I have to believe that there is more than just, hey, let's do a Paradox Pokemon of this. That would be a cool idea. There has to be more thought that goes into it. So the fact that they chose the Johto Beast, Entei, Raikou, and Suicune to get a Paradox Pokemon, and then Virizion, Terracon, and I'm spacing the last one. Basically, the Swords of Justice. They are the other Paradox Pokemon that we got. Why did they choose Pokemon from Gen 2, the legendary Pokemon from Gen 2, and the legendary Pokemon from Gen 5? And now, if you even want to take this a step further, we had Gen 2 Pokemon become past Paradox, and we had the Gen 5 Pokemon become future Paradox. Is there something there? First we had Kitakami in the first, and then we had Unova the second. Again, we had Johto in the first, Unova in the second. Let that kind of think about that for a little bit, I guess. So we've got, the timing, we've got Kitakami and Blueberry Academy, where they're at, we got the different beasts. Then we've actually got another couple of hints to each of these regions within the game, or within the Blueberry Academy themselves. So first off, once you complete, the quest from Perrin to go catch either, the Paradox Pokemon for the past or the present or the future, depending on which version of the game you've got, she will reward you with a Sport Ball. And in the description of the Sport Ball, it specifically mentions that it is used in the bug catching contest in Johto. Now, we haven't seen the Sport Ball in some time, and someone correct me if I'm wrong on that as well, but the fact that they've kind of brought the Sport Ball back, and they're even making a call out to the fact that it is from Johto in that's an interesting little point. Now, the other thing that is just very obvious is when you hit a wild Pokemon in the terrarium, the music is essentially the same wild battle theme that you would have in the Unova games, which is a very fun thing. I mentioned we have Chargestone Cave, so there's a ton of stuff in there about Johto, about Unova specifically. But I think this Sport Ball right here is kind of one of those little Easter eggs that just seems interesting enough that why would they include that little tidbit in the description rather than just saying, hey, it was a part of bug catching contests. Why go so far to actually say this is from Johto? Last but not least, we got to talk about Riddler Coup. Now, he had mentioned a couple of things. Specifically, the one that I like to go back to, we actually talked about this in a previous video, is he posted his Pokemon 2024 predictions, if you will. I'll throw a picture up. It was over on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it these days. But essentially, he had 4 maps up there. He had one of Kanto, one of Johto, one of Unova, and then there's a picture of the Uva or Naranja Academy in Paldea. So people were trying to wonder, which one of these 4 will it be, or is it all of them, or is it just some combination of them or not? So I think that after what we just got, though, and the announcement for the epilogue, this could actually be an all 4 situation. First up, he had Kanto and Johto. Now, should we get a Johto remake, I think we go back to Kanto again. In Heart Gold, Soul Silver, in Gold and Silver in the original games, not only do you go through Johto, they share the Indigo League. You're going to go through the same Elite Four, essentially. They tweaked it a little bit. It's a little bit different from the first game in Red and Blue than when it was in Gold and Silver, but it's the same Indigo League. And then after you did so, you were able to go back to Kanto and explore. And there was actually even some Pokemon that were introduced in Gen 2 that weren't actually attainable in Johto, such as Houndour. You had to go over to Route 7 in Kanto to actually catch Houndour, so you couldn't even catch Houndour despite being a Gen 2 Pokemon in Johto. So you had that aspect of the game. So I think with him posting Kanto as well, there's probably going to be a Johto remake where we can, hopefully it's be very true to Johto and to the Gen 2 games, and we're going to be able to go back to Kanto because they essentially are on the same landmass and they share the same league. Now with the next picture was Paldea, and we got the epilogue announcement, which actually is dropping in January. So this will be a content update for Paldea in January, which makes a lot of sense. So there's your 2024 Paldea. And then Unova, he did have Unova up here, and I think this still falls in line with everything we've talked about. There's been hints towards Johto, there's been hints towards Unova, and the Riddler Coup here once again posting Unova. And at this point, it's basically if Riddler Coup says something, that he's got good information. He has not been wrong. He doesn't tell us flat out, but as stuff gets announced, as stuff comes through, you can kind of piece together what he was saying and how he revealed it to us. So I think that, after going through these 5 things, these 5 reasons, looking at what the last couple regions that we haven't been to and how long it's been between a Johto and a Unova game, we had just the Kitakami being so close to Johto and the Blueberry Academy being actually in Unova. We had the Paradox Pokemon with the Beasts and with the Swords of Justice. We had the Sport Ball, and we had all these other little hints towards Unova as well. And then we have what Riddler Coup is saying with his hints for 2024, or his predictions. And I think that, like I said, I think all of this kind of points to two things, or to two games essentially. Both Johto and Unova will receive games in 2024. So the question then becomes, what type of games? Will it be a Let's Go? Will it be a traditional remake? Will it be a BDSP situation? Who knows? We might even get a Legends game. We've heard talks about a Legends, like Legends Unova or Legends Johto. I personally would love to see a Legends Johto game. Whether it's Legends Ho-Oh, Legends Lugia, whatever the case may be. I would personally lean that way. But I have a lot more nostalgia toward Gen 2 than I do Gen 5. So there is some bias there in that aspect. But I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts down below. What do you think? Am I off my rocker? Am I trying to speak something into existence that's not there? But I really think that after looking at what we've seen so far from Pokemon, what Riddler-Coup has been saying, I think that we see both Johto and Unova get some sort of game in 2024. So I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts down below. Hope you guys enjoyed this update. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, like this video on your way out. It really does help. I appreciate it. And until next time, catch you later.